Over the course of history, Canada has consistently served as a reliable ally to the United States of America. This partnership has been strengthened over the course of several decades by the presence of shared interests, economic cooperation, and military alliances. From trade agreements such as the North American Free Trade Agreement, now known as the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, to joint military operations under the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the two countries have worked together to overcome many of the challenges that the world faces. A number of observers have been taken aback by the fact that Canada has signed a shipbuilding contract with Hudong Zhonghua Shipbuilding of China for the construction of 6 LNG-powered container ships. The contract is worth $1.08 billion. It's not just the magnitude of this transaction that has garnered attention around the world, it's also the settlement currency that has done so. The decision to settle the transaction in Chinese yuan was made by Canada for the very first time in its history. This decision poses a direct challenge to the long-standing dominance of the United States dollar in international trade.
This move, which has never been done before, exemplifies the growing shift in the power dynamics of the global economy. Through the course of the last 10 years, it has been impossible to ignore China's rise to the position of preeminent economic and military power. China has become a formidable competitor to the United States as a result of its Belt and Road Initiative, its expanding influence in Africa and South America, and its technological advancements in fields such as artificial intelligence and fifth-generation wireless networks. But the timing of Canada's decision is what makes it even more intriguing than it already was. The escalation of tensions between Beijing and Ottawa stems from a number of factors, including trade disputes, concerns regarding human rights, and the controversial detention of Canadian citizens in China. Why then would Canada, a country that is frequently considered to be the most aligned with the interests of the United States, make such a bold move? Using a combination of geopolitical strategy and economic pragmatism is the answer to this question. In an effort to capitalize on China's rapidly expanding shipbuilding expertise, the Canadian shipping giant Seaspan is looking to expand its international operations. China's shipyards are now the most dominant players in the global market, producing nearly 70% of all new ships in the world. In addition to providing superior delivery times and competitive pricing, they also provide cutting-edge LNG dual-fuel technology. In the case of Seaspan, forming a partnership with China is not only about reducing expenses, it is also about establishing a foothold in the future of environmentally responsible maritime logistics.
Furthermore, by settling this massive deal in yuan, Canada is sending a message that it is open to diversifying its trade relations and currency dependencies. As the world's reserve currency, the United States dollar has been used in the majority of international trade agreements for a very long time. On the other hand, as the global economy becomes more multipolar, countries such as Canada are currently investigating alternative options. As a result of China's economic influence, the yuan is slowly but surely becoming a contender worth considering. As part of China's grand plan to internationalize its currency, the deal represents yet another step in the process of reducing the country's reliance on the dollar and reshaping the global financial system. Nevertheless, this is not solely about economics. The transaction highlights a shift in geopolitical alignments that is both subtle and significant nonetheless. The narrative that the world is neatly divided into pro-US and pro-China camps is called into question by this story. It is possible that the move made by Canada is indicative of a more nuanced reality in which nations prioritize their own interests and adapt to the shifting global order. The shipbuilding industry, which has traditionally been a stronghold for South Korea and Japan, is one sector that is particularly exhibiting this shift. As China's shipyards, which are supported by state policies and massive investments, rise to prominence, both countries have suffered a decline in their respective levels of dominance. In the first 9 months of 2024, China's shipbuilding industry recorded 87.11 million deadweight tons in new orders, which represents a year-on-year increase of 51.9%. These figures are more than just statistics. They represent a seismic shift in the capabilities of countries all over the world in the industrial sector. Despite the fact that it may put a strain on its relationship with the United States government, Canada's decision to enter this rapidly expanding market is a clear indication of the country's willingness to adapt to new circumstances.
Can you tell me about the wider repercussions of this transaction? In the first place, it has the potential to serve as a model for other countries. In the event that a close ally of the United States, such as Canada, is willing to use yuan for a significant transaction, what is preventing other countries from doing the same? This could be interpreted as a signal for countries in Europe, Africa, and Asia that are already engaged in extensive trade with China to investigate the possibility of establishing similar arrangements. These kinds of actions could weaken the grip that the dollar has on international trade, which would pose a challenge to one of the most powerful tools of global influence that the United States possesses. In addition, this new development raises concerns regarding the future of relations between the United States and Canada. Will the United States capital view this as a betrayal, or will it acknowledge the economic pragmatism that lies beneath the surface? The United States may respond with a variety of measures, including economic countermeasures and diplomatic pressure. On the other hand, Canada's pivot also conveys a message to its southern neighbor. It is time to adjust to a world that is changing, where economic decisions are driven by national interests rather than historical alliances. As we continue to peel back the layers of this fascinating new development, it is becoming increasingly apparent that the shipbuilding deal that Canada has contracted with China is more than just a business transaction. The complexity of contemporary geopolitics and the shifting balance of power in the 21st century are reflected in this strategic maneuver, which is a reflection of both of these factors.
The rapid transformation and strategic foresight that allowed China to become the dominant player in the global shipbuilding industry is the story of China's rise to dominance. Up until not too long ago, South Korea and Japan were widely regarded as the unrivaled leaders in the production of ships. Their highly developed technologies, highly skilled workforces, and highly efficient shipyards have established a new standard for the maritime industry all over the world. However, over the course of the last 10 years, this dynamic has undergone a significant shift. Having been a marginal player in the shipbuilding industry in the past, China has made significant progress in recent years, becoming the largest shipbuilder in the world by capitalizing on its vast industrial base, the support of the state, and innovative technologies. The transformation in question is not merely a matter of economic strategy. Rather, it is a manifestation of China's broader geopolitical aspirations. As a result of China's dominance in shipbuilding, the country is able to guarantee a continuous supply of cutting-edge vessels for its rapidly expanding navy and commercial fleet. In the period between 2018 and 2024, the shipbuilding industry in China has experienced exponential growth. The nation finished over 36 million deadweight tons of shipbuilding projects in 2024 alone, which represents an increase of 18.2% compared to the previous year. There was a staggering 51.9% increase in new orders from the previous year, which brought the total to 87.11 million deadweight tons. China's capability and determination to lead in this crucial sector are demonstrated by these figures, which are considered to be testimonials. In the case of countries such as Canada, this presents an opportunity that cannot be ignored. Through collaboration with Chinese shipbuilders, they are able to gain access to cutting-edge technology, solutions that are both cost-effective and environmentally friendly, and innovations that are environmentally friendly. Particularly noteworthy is the fact that Canada's Seaspan has placed an order for 6 LNG dual-fuel container ships. Not only are these vessels efficient and dependable, but they are also designed with cutting-edge environmentally friendly technologies, such as desulfurization towers and energy-saving systems designed to reduce emissions. These characteristics provide China's shipbuilders with a competitive advantage in a world that is becoming more concerned with environmental preservation. However, the repercussions of China's rise extend far beyond the realm of economics. A significant contribution to both international commerce and military strategy is made by the shipbuilding industry. The capacity of a nation to manufacture sophisticated vessels has an effect on the nation's economic stability, the effectiveness of its trade, and its defense capabilities. Taking this into consideration, China has made significant investments in its shipbuilding industry, ensuring that it is capable of meeting the requirements of both the commercial and military sectors. Among the most prominent examples of this dual focus is the Yuan, which is China's most recent aircraft carrier. China's naval capabilities have advanced significantly with the introduction of the Yuan. To differentiate itself from its predecessors, which were reliant on antiquated technology, the Yuan is equipped with cutting-edge electromagnetic catapult systems, which enable aircraft to be launched more quickly and with greater efficiency. For the first time, China is now on par with the United States of America, which is the only other country to implement such technology. It is extremely difficult to overstate the significance of this. The most important component of modern naval power is the aircraft carrier, which gives nations the ability to project force far beyond their land borders. China is sending a message that it intends to not only defend its territorial waters, but also challenge the dominance of the United States in the Indo-Pacific region through the Fujian missile. It is imperative that the decision made by Canada to collaborate with China in the shipbuilding industry be viewed within this more comprehensive framework. Not only is it important to acquire ships of a high quality, but it is also important to align yourself with a rising global power that is reshaping the landscape of the maritime industry. This new development should serve as a wake-up call for the United States. It has been a cornerstone of the United States' global influence for a very long time that the United States dollar dominates international trade. This financial hegemony is challenged by Canada's decision to settle its shipbuilding deal in Yuan, which gives the impression that the country is willing to investigate alternative economic frameworks. It is possible that this action will have repercussions throughout the entire global financial system. The yuan has the potential to become a significant currency for international trade if other countries follow Canada's example and establish their own currencies. To achieve its long-term objective of internationalizing its currency and decreasing its reliance on the United States dollar, this is in perfect alignment with China's goals. The Canadian government is placing a strategic wager on the future with this action. Through the diversification of its economic partnerships and currency dependencies, it positions itself as a player with forward-thinking capabilities in a world that is becoming increasingly multipolar. This shift, however, does not come without any risks. Since the beginning of time, the United States of America has always been quick to react to any challenge to its economic or military dominance. Despite the fact that Canada's relocation is motivated by economic pragmatism, it has the potential to strain relations with its southern neighbor. The decisive factor will be the United States' choice of how to react. Will it exert pressure on Canada to reconsider, or will it take a more measured approach, concentrating on strengthening its own competitive edge? The remainder of the world is keeping a close eye on Canada as it waits for the delivery of its new ships. This transaction is more than just a business transaction. It is a bellwether for the shifting shifts in the balance of power around the world. The manner in which other countries react to China's expanding influence will determine whether this event indicates the beginning of a more widespread realignment, or whether it continues to be an isolated instance.
Western powers have long held a dominant position in the global order, but this order is currently undergoing a seismic shift. At the core of this shift is the rise of China, not only as an economic powerhouse, but also as a competitor to the United States in terms of both technological and military capabilities. The decision made by Canada's Seaspan to settle its shipbuilding contract with China in Yuan, which is worth $1.08 billion, is more than just a business decision. It is a signal of the shifting dynamics in international relations. The United States dollar has been the foundation of international commerce throughout history. Ever since the Bretton Woods Agreement was signed in 1944, the United States dollar has served as the primary reserve currency for the entire world. The United States is able to exert an unprecedented level of economic influence thanks to this factor, which also serves as the foundation of the global financial system and makes international trade easier. By maintaining a level of economic control that other countries are unable to match, the United States is able to impose financial sanctions, exert influence over global markets, and maintain a level of hegemonic control over the dollar.
Nevertheless, There have been signs of cracks appearing in this system. It is China's aspiration to challenge the dominance of the dollar that is growing in tandem with the country's growing economic and political influence. China has been able to strengthen its financial ties with developing nations as a result of the Belt and Road Initiative, which encompasses over 140 countries. Many of these nations are currently investigating the possibility of using the yuan for commercial and investment purposes. The decision made by Canada to use yuan in its shipbuilding deal may appear to be a minor step. However, it is actually a relatively minor part of a much larger pattern. The United States of America is facing the possibility of having less of an impact on the global financial system as more countries diversify their trade currencies. It is abundantly clear that this shift will be beneficial to China. The internationalization of the yuan lessens its reliance on the dollar and gives it more economic leverage on the international stage, while simultaneously reducing its dependence on the dollar. China's ability to secure high-profile deals, such as the one with Canada, helps to strengthen the perception of the yuan as a viable alternative to the dollar. This is in line with Beijing's broader strategic goals, which include lowering the risk of economic sanctions and gaining a greater degree of control over its financial future.
At the same time that China's naval capabilities are rapidly expanding, the country's broader ambitions are also becoming more apparent. China's navy is now the largest in the world in terms of the number of ships it possesses, with nearly 380 vessels available. One example of the cutting-edge technology and strategic foresight that is driving the development of its military is the Fujian, which is the most recent addition to the roster. Additionally, the Fujian is able to launch heavier aircraft thanks to its advanced EMALS technology, which provides it with significant advantages in terms of its operational capabilities. There is a direct challenge that this presents for the United States of America. Despite the fact that it has been regarded as the gold standard of maritime power for a long time, the United States Navy must now contend with a competitor that is closing the technological gap. The capabilities of the Fujian, in conjunction with China's broader naval expansion, enhance the country's capacity to project power in strategic regions, such as the Taiwan Strait and the South China Sea. Not only are these waters strategically important for international trade, but they are also at the center of China's hopes to expand its territorial holdings. Given these circumstances, it is necessary to examine the shipbuilding agreement that Canada and China have reached. The issue is not merely one of economics or technology, rather it matters of influence. By engaging in high-value transactions with countries such as Canada, China is sending a clear message that it is prepared to play a leading role in the process of shaping the global order. What this means for relations between the United States and China is significant. The competition between these two powers is no longer limited to the realms of military and technological advancement. Rather, it has expanded into the realms of finance and economics, where the control of global trade currencies is increasingly seen as a strategic asset. The choice to establish a permanent residence in Yuan presents Canada with a risk as well as an opportunity. On the one hand, it places Canada in a relationship with a rising power, which may result in the creation of new economic opportunities and a reduction in the country's reliance on the United States dollar. On the other hand, it runs the risk of alienating the United States, which is itself its closest ally. The reaction of the Washington government to this new development will be closely monitored. For the purpose of countering China's rise, will it put pressure on Canada to change its course, or will it instead concentrate on strengthening its own economic and military capabilities?
The implications are not limited to the North American continent. It is possible that the dominance of the dollar will be eroded more quickly if the action taken by Canada motivates other allies of the United States to consider taking similar actions. This may present an opportunity for countries in Europe, Asia, and Africa, many of which are already significant trade partners with China, to diversify their economic strategies. China is a significant trade partner for many of these countries. A change of this magnitude would have significant repercussions for the international monetary system, and it could potentially diminish the United States' capacity to exert influence over international markets and to impose economic sanctions of any kind. Examples of nations successfully navigating the complexities of a multipolar world can be found even within the European Union. Slovakia, which is a member of both the European Union and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, is in the process of shifting its alliances, becoming more friendly with China, while simultaneously distancing itself from its traditional Western partners. As the global order continues to shift, nations are readjusting their foreign policies in order to bring them into alignment with the emerging power dynamics. This trend is a reflection of a larger pattern. The shipbuilding deal that Canada has entered into is a microcosm of these larger trends. It sheds light on the dynamic relationship that exists between economic interests, geopolitical strategy, and the power dynamic that is constantly shifting. It is imperative that the traditional pillars of global influence make adjustments in order to avoid falling behind as nations such as Canada and Slovakia forge new paths ahead.